Ah, baseball, the classic American pastime where we pay $324 to watch 4 hours of sweaty men running up and down bases in some random field, surrounded by hundreds of tons of steel beams holding up rafters full of uncomfortable bleachers and seats. Where everything costs 50 times what it should and your home team always seems to lose when you go. But despite this, baseball is loved from sea to shining sea here in the good old US of A. But wait, if you've been keeping up with the MLB for the past couple seasons, like me, you may be experiencing something off about the MLB. You see, those uncomfortable seats slowly are becoming more and more empty, and in my opinion, it's very simple. The game just doesn't have the spark it used to. Maybe it's just me, but I don't feel that same spark I used to when Martinez, Altuve, or Rizzo stepped up to bat. You may say, "Psyop, you're the YouTuber. Shouldn't you know why the MLB isn't the same?" And to that I say, I don't know, man, I just work here. Because truthfully, there is no reason, and plus, it is an opinion. Some people probably think that the MLB is the same as always, a great, energetic, hype, true American sport. But for me, it's just not the same. Some crowds seem unenthusiastic at games, and each game seems to be like a maniacal repeat of the last, and the whole season just feels like watching paint dry on a wall and expecting it to turn a different color. It's just idiotic and boring, to say the least. Saya, what do we do to fix this? And how do we make our beloved sport fun again? And the answer has already existed for a long, long time. It's really been in front of our faces, because we were looking in the wrong country. It's hard to imagine just how crazy it would be to go from teaching English at an American high school to teaching at a high school on a giant island over 6,000 miles away before planes even existed. Well, this became reality for a certain Horace Wilson. In search of a new life, the Civil War vet turned English teacher made a decision to travel to take a job offer at the Tokyo Imperial University in a little country called Japan. Horace didn't bring much with him on the trip. In fact, I can quickly list off all the things that he brought, including 4 outfits, teaching supplies, a few decorations for his new home, and last but not least, the American sport of baseball. That same year, on a particularly boring day of teaching, he decided to show his students something that would change the world of Japan. He lined his class up in 2 separate equal teams and began to teach them baseball. And what did these Japanese students think? They loved it. In fact, you could even say old Horace hit a home run right out of the ballpark. Word spread quickly of the American teacher and his newly formed team, and soon enough, baseball spread from school to school all over Japan. And soon enough, in 1878, the first adult professional baseball team in Japan was formed. But the sport still hadn't become even close to being the most popular ball game played in Japan until the year 1896, when a high school team from Ichigo High School beat the foreign team, leading them to becoming national heroes. Finally, the first national professional baseball league in Japan was formed by Matsutaru Shiriki, and is still to this day Japan's contest to the MLB. It is known as the Nippon Professional Baseball League. Real quick, let's go back to the question of how we could enjoy baseball again. Well, here's our answer. You see, NPB fans are dedicated. I mean, hardcore fans who will do anything for their teams, and the crowd is cheering the whole game. But not only that, but games played in the NPB are faster and more exciting with less strict rules, and a few other fun differences from the MLB. So if you're looking for an alternative, here's your answer. And in my opinion, it's better. The NPB split into 2 main conferences. The Pacific League, consisting of the SoftBank Hawks, the Seibu Lions, the Lotte Marines, the Oryx Buffaloes, the Rakuten Golden Eagles, and the Nippon Ham. And the other conference is the Central League, including the Dina Bay Stars, the Yakult Swallows, the Chunichi Dragons, the Yomiuri Giants, and one more, which brings us to the moment you have all been waiting for. The reason you clicked on this video, the one and only KFC Cursed team, and my personal favorite MPB team, the Hanshin Tigers. It's tough being underdogs, and even tougher being the Hanshin Tigers. Let's set the stage. It's 1985. The Hanshin Tigers have yet to win a championship in the MPB despite being one of the few original teams. They are known as the lovable losers for their inability to win in the playoffs. But this year is different. The Tigers have multiple weapons hidden in their sleeves, including their amazingly fast pitcher, Masashi Fujiwara, and their dark horse backup pitcher, Osamu Fukama, and their star hitter, Koichi Hattori. And last but most important, future Hall of Famer and regular season MVP, American from Oklahoma, Randy Bass. P.S. Remember that he is American. That will be important later in the story. And with these weapons, they created a well-oiled mean green Tiger machine and racked up an unbelievable 74 wins and 49 losses, which had been seen as impossible for the quote-unquote lovable losers. But even then, other MPB fans simply brushed the team's regular season success off as a fluke and expected a swift loss to the Hiroshima Toyo Carp. Well, when the game was played, fans all over the MPB couldn't believe it. It was a blowout win for the Tigers. Nobody believed it. All around the league, they had expected them to lose this game. But they wouldn't stop there. Finally, people in the league stopped using the nickname Lovable Losers to describe the Tigers, but they still had one more game to solidify their place as a powerhouse MPB team. One game to prove all the haters wrong. The MPB Championship. The game was close from the first inning to the last inning, until finally, in the bottom of the ninth, Randy Bass hit an out-of-the-park home run to win the game. And they had done it. It was all over. Fans poured into the streets celebrating in triumph, but in all the chaos, karma for their showboating seemed to catch up with them. When all the fans reached a bridge, they began cheering and they would call out a Tiger player's name, and someone in the crowd who looked similar to them would have to jump off the bridge into the water. All was going well. One by one, the Tiger players were being announced and their lookalikes would hop off the bridge, until eventually they reached Randy Bass. As you can imagine, nobody in the crowd of Japanese baseball fans were American. Eventually, a group of rowdy Tigers fans looked over and saw KFC, and outside of every KFC in Japan stands a statue of none other than the one and only Colonel Sanders. They quickly realized that he was the only American nearby, so they hoisted the Colonel and threw him off the bridge. Eventually, the crowd dissipated and headed home, excited to see their champions play their first game as championship defenders next season. But they wouldn't even win the championship that year. In fact, they played their worst season to date, and quickly, after the season came to a close, superstition set in, and the Tigers fans began to realize that they made a huge mistake throwing the Colonel off of the bridge that fateful night. And beyond a doubt, they believed that the fried chicken man himself had put a curse on the Tigers in retaliation for disrespecting his beautiful statue, and from then on, season after season, the curse only kept feeling more and more real. Eventually, fans began to make attempts to break the curse. One dive group would eventually dive down to retrieve the sunken statue and were successful, but the next season was no use. They once again failed to make the playoffs, and that's when fans began to realize that the statue was still missing its left hand, and many superstitious fans believed that until the hand was retrieved, the Tigers would never win another championship. And that's the story. on an underdog team who envied powerhouse teams who showboat like the Giants and ended up becoming the thing that they hated the most. And by the hands of Colonel Sanders himself, they ended up paying the price. The curse still persists to this day, but things are looking up this season. It's still too early to say, but hey, they're leading the league, so maybe, just maybe, the Colonel believes the Tigers have learned their valuable lesson. By the way, thank you for tuning in, everyone. This is my first ever video on YouTube, and yeah, I expect to be making a lot more content like this, so if you liked it, make sure you like, subscribe, and any channels that have been around for quite a while, I would love if you would go ahead and put your own input in and what I can do to be a better channel. Thank you so much.